The Estral Virex, a mid-range diplomatic cruiser of the Thalkar Union, limped through the darkness of space like a wounded beast. Its once gleaming hull was now scorched and battered, riddled with microfractures and systems flickering from a plasma surge that had torn through its main power conduit during a pirate ambush near the outer reach. On board, Commander Sereth barked orders in a sharp, guttural tongue, his forearms moving rapidly over holographic controls. Stabilize inertial dampeners. Prioritize core containment. Containment holding, barely, reported Engineer Valthor, her crest twitching in anxiety. We've lost primary FTL. The secondary drive is offline. We're adrift. The Thalkar Union was vast, spanning dozens of worlds, but they were now far beyond the border, stranded in what the star maps called the Soul Fringe. An outdated region, red-flagged for primitive, unpredictable contact. Avoided for centuries. Only one system within sublight range, said Valthor, eyes narrowing. System Sol. Planet. Earth. There was a moment of silence. Sereth's claws tapped the command console. Humans. No one spoke. The Thalkar had only encountered humans once, centuries ago. They were classified as non-compliant primitives after an incident involving an ambassador, a power outage, and a cultural misunderstanding involving bar fights, live music, and a shotgun wedding. The entry in the diplomatic archive ended with a single note. Unpredictable. Dangerous. Avoid unless desperate. They were desperate. The Virex entered Earth orbit 72 hours later, trailing ionized gases like blood from a wounded Leviathan. The humans noticed instantly. Hundreds of surveillance satellites tracked them, and within moments, hails began to pour through on every known and unknown frequency. One stood out. A calm, steady voice in near-perfect Thalkar dialect. This is Earth Orbital Control. We see you're in trouble. Permission to assist. Sereth was stunned. Earth had a unified orbital response network? He hesitated, then replied. Permission granted. Within minutes, a fleet of small, fast-moving ships launched from Earth's surface. They didn't look like military vessels, more like industrial barges, fusion welders, and orbital tugs cobbled together by ingenuity and sheer willpower. But they moved with precision, grace, and speed. The humans docked expertly, despite the Virex's unstable rotations. Automated repair drones entered through the airlocks. But more surprising than their efficiency was their attitude. Casual, friendly, joking over comms as they worked. One of the human engineers, a woman named Elise Carter, patched through to Sereth's command channel. Looks like you ran into something nasty. Don't worry, Commander. Earth may be messy, but we fix things. We've always fixed things. Sereth expected crude, improvised work. What he saw was artistry. The humans bypassed the failed FTL coil entirely, constructing a temporary superconductive loop using asteroid-forged alloys they brought with them. They restructured the power grid and repaired auxiliary life support, without ever requesting payment, trade, or even deference. We're not here for compensation, Elise said. You were in trouble. That's enough. Sereth didn't understand. No species, none offered this level of aid without leverage or long-term strings attached. But the humans acted as if it was simply the right thing to do. Valthor, suspicious, asked Elise directly, why help us? You gain nothing. You risk much. Elise grinned. That's just who we are. We see something broken, we fix it. And sometimes, we fix more than metal. As repairs progressed, the crew of the Virex were invited to Earth's surface while the final systems were tuned. Sereth was hesitant. Protocol dictated isolation, but curiosity tugged at him. They landed in a sprawling human city, New Chicago. The skyline bristled with towers of steel and green glass, drones humming overhead, kids laughing in the streets, and murals that stretched for blocks. There was music everywhere. Life. Struggle. Hope. Sereth had visited 100 worlds. None felt like this. A human girl approached him, no older than 8. She stared up at his towering, armored frame without fear. Are you an alien? He nodded slowly. She smiled. Cool. Want to see my robot dog? He blinked. What is a robot dog? She giggled and dragged him by the claw. That night, Sereth stood on a rooftop with Elise, gazing out over the glowing city. We expected you to be dangerous, he admitted. We are, she replied. Just not always in the way people think. He looked at her. You didn't just repair our ship, he said. You've shown us something we didn't know we were missing. Elise nodded, her eyes distant. Sometimes what's really broken isn't metal or tech. It's trust. Connection. Maybe we're not so primitive after all. For the first time in cycles, Sereth didn't feel like a soldier or a commander. He felt hope. Sereth didn't sleep much during their stay on Earth. Not because of fear, he felt none now, but because Earth was loud, alive, and ceaselessly moving. It pulsed with energy in a way no Thalkar world ever had. He wandered through the city's streets, accompanied by Valthor and 2 guards. They passed open markets filled with scents foreign and rich, watched street musicians play haunting melodies, and saw humans laughing, so loudly it echoed like thunder. Valthor observed, antennae twitching. They are inefficient, wasteful. They expend energy on nothing. Sereth shook his head. They expend energy on living. They were given access to Earth's central archives, a gesture of open trust that alarmed Sereth more than it pleased him. But what he found inside shook him deeper than he expected. Footage, histories, images of Earth's past, wars that spanned continents, famines, revolutions, civilizations rising and falling in ashes, the Holocaust, Hiroshima, the Dust Bowl, the World Wars, the Cold War. Pain on a scale most galactic species hadn't survived even once. But there was more. Humans crawling out of ruined cities, feeding their neighbors with their last scraps, doctors stitching wounds in bomb shelters, soldiers carrying wounded enemies off battlefields, civilians planting trees in nuclear wastelands. Rebuilding. Always rebuilding. Back aboard the Virex, Sereth convened a private meeting with his senior officers. They have survived extinction, he said. More than once. And yet, they welcome strangers. They share. They rebuild. What? Weapons Officer Rel hissed. It's a trick. A ruse. They pretend peace to disarm us. Valthor considered. Or perhaps, they are what we once were. Before the Union. Before protocol and purity. Sereth looked down at his own reflection in the steel floor. No, he whispered. They are something we never were. 2 days later, the Virex was fully operational. The humans refused to take payment. Instead, Elise handed Sereth a small gift box as a farewell. He opened it aboard the ship. Inside was a single, worn item, a small, handcrafted tool, half wrench, half diagnostic scanner. Clearly old, heavier than it looked. There was a name etched into the side. J. Carter, 2134. For fixing what others give up on. Valthor scanned it. This is ancient. Pre-fusion era. Useless now. Sereth closed the lid with reverence. No, it's a symbol. He turned to the crew. Set a course back to Union space. And prepare a full report. Before they jumped, Sereth sent a final message to Earth. You repaired more than our ship. You reminded us that survival means more than strength. It means kindness, curiosity, courage, and rebuilding. Always rebuilding. The Virex emerged from the slipstream at the edge of Thalkar space, escorted immediately by 2 warships. The incident report filed prior to their return had triggered alarms at the highest level of the Union hierarchy. Commander Sereth and his senior officers were summoned directly to the High Council chambers. The room was cold, geometric, and silent, designed to strip emotion from discussion. High Counselor Varnik, a tall, silver-skinned elder of the Spire caste, regarded Sereth with narrowed eyes. You made contact with an unstable pre-unionized world, Varnik began. This violates Protocol 12 Alpha. Explain yourself. Sereth stood tall. Our ship was crippled. Earth was the only reachable system. Their response defied expectations. The council murmured. One voice rang out from Counselor Drez. Defied in what way? Were you attacked? No. We were helped. Repaired. Welcome. Varnik sneered. Primitive kindness is often a trap. Sereth lifted the tool gifted to him and placed it gently on the central table. They gave us this. And more. The holographic interface lit up, displaying scenes from Earth. Children playing beside war memorials. Engineers building with recycled ruins. People feeding the hungry during storms. Laughing, even while rebuilding from disaster. This species has faced extinction multiple times. They learned from it. They don't just survive, they strive. And they help others do the same. Valthor, uninvited but defiant, stepped forward. I scanned their data. Their past is violent. But it's not their violence that defines them. It's their refusal to let it consume them. Rel hissed. And what if they turn that resilience against us? Sereth answered, calm but firm. Then we are already defeated. Because while we fear loss, they grow from it. The chamber fell into stunned silence. After deliberation, the council issued its verdict: no sanctions, no punishment, but also no official diplomatic ties. Earth would remain under observation. It was a safe ruling. Political, cautious. But Sereth saw something in Varnick's expression as he left. Not contempt, but unease. For the first time in cycles, the Union had glimpsed something it could not control. That night, Sereth returned to his quarters aboard the Virex. He placed the human tool on a shelf beside his commendations. It stood out, simple, imperfect, human, and yet it weighed more than all the metals combined. Not in mass, in meaning. Months passed. Officially, the Thalkar Union moved on. Earth was logged, analyzed, and cataloged under non-priority classification. But whispers spread among ship crews, traders, explorers. Stories of humans who repaired ships without asking for payment, who offered meals to lost travelers, who sang while cleaning radiation-drenched wrecks. Sereth became an unlikely symbol, not a hero, but a warning and a possibility. And quietly, others began visiting Earth. At first, they came alone. Damaged merchant ships, rogue science vessels, a medical transport fleeing pirates. Each arrived desperate, each left with more than repairs. On the third moon of Zel 2, Valthor met a trader from the Kelkari Combine. The insectoid being lowered its voice, eyes shimmering. I went to Earth, it whispered. They showed me their libraries. I cried, and I do not cry. Not in 100 cycles. They fixed my ship and gave me cookies. Valthor blinked. Cookies. The trader nodded solemnly. Peanut butter. Dangerous. Addictive. Worth war. Back on Earth, Elise Carter watched the skyline from her workshop rooftop, now cluttered with parts from over 6 alien races. Humanity hadn't asked for attention, but it came anyway. Children played with alien pets. Artists painted murals with new colors. Human welders taught three-armed techs how to brace a broken hull by feel, not blueprint. Earth was becoming something no one expected, a quiet sanctuary for the lost. Sereth monitored the changes from afar. He couldn't return, orders forbade it. But every now and then, messages found him. A hologram from Elise, her workshop, now expanded, bustling with engineers from 5 worlds. A short message, still fixing things. Still smiling. You'd like the new coffee. Sereth smiled. He looked at the human tool on his shelf. What humanity gave wasn't just repairs. It was a virus, a beautiful, unstoppable idea spreading from ship to ship, planet to planet. Things can be broken, but they can also be rebuilt. Asterisk asterisk. The Thalkar Union didn't fall. It didn't erupt into revolution or war. But it changed, slowly, imperceptibly, like a glacier cracking from within. New captains spoke of Earth in hushed tones. Engineers built things a little differently, inspired by human design. Some even laughed more, worked with music playing in the background, or shared meals with species they once ignored. It wasn't policy. It was something deeper. A shift in the way they saw the galaxy. A realization that not every advancement came from cold logic and sterile perfection. Sometimes, progress came wrapped in grease, music, and warm bread. On the fringes of Union space, a research outpost suffered a core collapse. They sent out a distress beacon, expecting silence. A ship answered, non-Union, clearly human. The hull was old, patched with parts from 5 different species. The human commander didn't ask about clearance. He just said, "You need help? Hang in there, we've got you." The survivors didn't know what was more shocking, that the humans came, or that they weren't afraid. Back on Earth, the skyline of New Chicago now shimmered with alien architecture. A Thalkar-built tower stood among human spires, covered in vines and holographic blossoms. A plaque at its base read, "For those who reach out instead of turning away." Inside Elise Carter's old workshop, now a bustling interstellar repair guild, young humans and aliens worked side by side. They used old tools and new ones. They learned each other's languages. They laughed. Above the door hung that same gift tool, the one that once fixed a hull, the one that once said, "We try anyway." Sereth never saw Earth again. He was reassigned to a border post near the Nabari Rift, far from Seoul. But he kept the tool close, always. One night, he activated it. It didn't do much anymore. The scanner was broken, the interface dim, but it hummed faintly when he held it. As if remembering, he looked out over the stars and whispered, "They gave us nothing of value. No tech, no weapons, just hope." He smiled. "And that was more than we ever expected."